Hello and welcome to Faithfully Stampin' with Jennifer Helm. I am Jennifer Helm, the Faithful Stamper and independent demonstrator with Stampin' Up! And today I have for you a fun fold card. This is called a Trifold Z card. There are other Z fold cards out there. This one is a little different because it has 3 panels, hence the Trifold. So when you open the card up, it looks like this. And then you have the added accent of this piece of designer series paper here on the front. So this isn't as complicated as you might think it would be. It's a little bit of cutting and scoring on your scoreboard and paper trimmer, and then assembling the card. So we'll go ahead and get started. I am using tonight the hand-penned petals stamp set, and then the matching dies that go with it, the penned flowers dies. And then the designer series paper I'm using coordinates with that set as well. It is the hand-penned petals designer series paper. So the first thing you're going to need is a piece of cardstock that is 5.5 inches by 12 inches. So it's longer than your average card, so you do need a 12-inch length of cardstock for this. And we're going to score it at 4 inches and 8 inches to give us the trifold, the 3 panels that are 4 inches wide each. So we're going to score on the 12-inch side, and the first score mark is going to be at 4 inches. Now if you like, you can extend your arm and go over to the 8 inches, but what I like to do is save myself a little trouble, and I just flip my paper around and score again at the 8-inch mark. And so that way I've got my 3 panels, and you can go ahead and fold it if you like. For me, it gives me a better visual for the next step. So I know my card is going to open like this, and I need to make a little bit of a pencil mark on this very far left edge, 2 inches up from the bottom. So if you've got a ruler and a pencil, this will come in handy. So 2 inches, a little bitty pencil mark. And what we're going to do is we're going to cut from this 2-inch pencil mark all the way across the first 2 panels to the second score line. It's your 8-inch mark. And so we're going to cut off this top portion, and that helps us with the Z fold. So I'm going to put my pencil mark up here at the top of my cutting track, and then maneuver my cardstock so that my score line is at the bottom of my cutting track. And once I have it in place, make one cut. This piece you can either save for scrap for other projects or just recycle it. And then you will have a card base that looks like this, and you can see how that Z fold is going to come into play in just a little bit. And if you need to, take your pencil and erase any pencil line that might be left there. Now we're going to do some more cutting while we have our paper trimmer handy. The first thing you need is a piece of designer series paper, printed paper. I'm calling this print A so that you can distinguish the difference. 3.5 inches tall by 3 3/4 inches wide. Everything we're working with tonight is 3 3/4 inches wide. And we're going to take our pencil and our ruler again, and we need to mark, just like we did with the cardstock. We're going to make a little pencil mark on the left, and then we're going to cut it up to the right. This goes on the very front of the card, and so you're going to want to measure up 1 7/8 of an inch. So between that 1 3/4 inch and 2-inch mark, so a little pencil mark. Depending on your designer series paper, it might be a little hard to see. So I've got my pencil mark, and I'm measuring again up and to the right. So once I'm all lined up and ready to go, I've got my panel cut here. Now our second panel of cardstock, I'm calling this print B, is 5 1/4 inches tall and 3 3/4 inches wide. Now this one we are cutting in the opposite direction because the first panel we cut to the right. This panel is your second kind of front flap, and so we need to cut up and to the left. So there's two ways you can do that. You can either put your pencil mark here and cut to the reverse, so cut up to the left, or you can cut on the right like we did with the cardstock and the first piece of designer series paper and cut up to the right. I think I just said something wrong there, so just watch what I do. So depends on how you want to cut it. Since this is kind of a busier print, I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do it cutting it on the left. So this one, we are going to put our pencil mark at 3 5/8 of an inch. So it's between, if you need a little easier, it's right between 3 1/2 and 3 3/4. And that just gives us the perfect place to cut our paper. And remember, if you've got your paper right side up and you made your mark on the left, nope, the right, I'm gonna have you all backwards. But if you've made your pencil mark on the right, we're gonna cut up to the left this time. So I'm gonna put my corner up on my cutting track and that pencil mark there at the bottom. And there we go. And come back and erase pencil mark. And so hopefully, if I haven't terribly confused you, you will see that the first panel goes here, and we'll be gluing these down shortly, and then this panel fits beautifully here, and in you go. Now, one more piece of cutting to do. You will need 2 pieces of basic white cardstock that are the same measurements as your second panel of designer series paper. So 5 1/4 inches tall by 3 3/4 inches wide. One of them you're going to completely set to the side because that's the inside of your card and we don't need to make any cuts or measurements on there whatsoever. This one we are going to do the same thing the same cutting measurements that we did just a moment ago with the designer series paper, but this time we do want that angle to go up to the right because this one goes on the inside of your card. So that's why we need that angle. So the measurements are the same. So 3 5/8. And then cut that up and to the right. And now we can start working on assembling and stamping our card. So the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and attach my designer series paper panels to my card. I'm going to use my Stamp and Seal adhesive. You can use liquid glue for this too if you like. The important thing is to get as close as possible to your corners because you want to make sure you have enough glue over in these corners that they're not going to pull up from the card. That's probably the trickiest part. And then you're just going to leave yourself a little bit of a border around your card, top and bottom and side to side. And then give that a press down. Now I'm going to flip the card over and attach this panel, trying to keep it in camera view here, of designer series paper here. And in case I didn't mention it, my cardstock was garden green. I'm pulling all the colors tonight from this designer series paper, which is one of my favorites from our new annual catalog. If you do not currently have a demonstrator that you are working with, please feel to get in touch with me and I'll be happy to send you a catalog. We have our annual catalog and starting tomorrow, our new holiday mini catalog for the fall of 2021. So there is our designer series paper panels attached. Now we're going to do some stamping. So first of all, I'm going to bring out my Stampin' Pierce mat. This is a thick piece of foam. And this is good for your clear photopolymer stamp sets, which is what this stamp set I'm using tonight is. So I'm going to start with my interior panel. I'm going to use some garden green ink, and the sentiment I'm using this evening is thanks. You need something that's fairly narrow, or it can be a little wider but a little bit taller but not as wide, to fit here at this top corner. You can see how you don't have a whole lot of real estate going on for stamping. So this thank you stamp, or this thanks stamp I should say, is perfect just to stamp right there at that top corner. And while I'm here, I'm going to accent the bottom just to give it a little something with some mint macaron ink and one of the floral stamps from the set. And then it needs a little bloom. This is cute. It kind of reminds me of a dandelion that's had all the fluff blown off. And then I'm using pale papaya for my flowers this evening. So this panel is done. I'm going to set that to the side. And then I'm going to stamp on this interior panel. Now, you don't have to stamp on this if you don't want to. If you'd like to have more room to write your message, feel free to leave it blank entirely or make it less busy. Totally up to you. What I've decided to do is accent it with a strip of designer series paper. You can see, let's see, on this sample, I used the stripe side of the paper strip, and you could use a thinner strip of paper if you wanted to. However, I don't like that my stripes are running horizontally, so I'm going to go ahead and use the print side on it. I'm not going to glue this down yet, though, just in case I mess up. I don't want to have to cut another piece of designer series paper as well, so I'll leave that until I'm sure my stamped images come out right. So I have a larger floral image from my set. I'm going to stamp in garden green. And then I'm just going to go ahead and fill in some of the design with flowers and leaves. So this is two-step stamping. I've stamped the outer image, and then I'm going to come back with my accent stamps and fill in. Now this particular stamp set, the fillers, I'll call them, are not supposed to completely fill in the flower. It kind of has a watercolory look to it. So don't be alarmed if you pick this stamp set up and it doesn't quite match what you're thinking. Get my stamp oriented the right way there. So can you see it doesn't quite fill it in, but that is the look I'm going for. And sometimes the trickiest part is just lining up your stamps to fill the image in. But the photopolymer makes it so easy. So one more bloom here in the pale papaya. And then I'm going to switch to mint macaron for my leaves. So just fill in. There's all my large leaves. Now I'm going to switch to the small ones. Just remember not to do CPR on your stamps in your ink pad. You want a light tap, 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 and then a light press on your paper. You don't want to give your paper CPR either, because all you'll do is end up with ink in places you don't want ink. It happens enough without doing CPR on your stamps. All right, so there we go. And that came out, and I'm happy with it, so I can put my mat away. And now I'm going to go ahead and glue my strip of designer series paper. Again, totally up to you whether or not you want to use this. Here we go. Sometimes your glue just doesn't want to go and you have to coax it a little bit. So I have a little overhang with my designer series paper. If that happens, just grab a pair of scissors and trim off the excess. And now I can glue my panels on the inside of my card. So we are almost finished this card already. once you get a feel for how to measure and cut the paper, it really goes smoothly. There we go. And again, just leave a little border around the insides, or I guess around the outsides of your panels. And then last but not least, your sentiment panel. And then we will be ready to put this on the inside as well. You can also accent your envelopes with a stamp. I'm going to go back and probably put this little floral stamp on my envelopes. One more step. Now this card is perfectly lovely just like this, and if you have your card put together and you like it just like that, that's fine. I'm going to add one little accent though. I die cut and stamped this beautiful floral image from the same set, and I'm just going to add this to the front of the card with dimensionals. Now I have to be careful where I put my dimensionals since I don't want to glue the whole panels together. So I'm going to use both sizes of our dimensionals. I'm going to start with one large dimensional down here at the bottom of this flower, and then I'm going to use our mini dimensionals and just add one to this leaf and one to the bottom of this leaf. And that really should be enough to keep it in place and not glue the front of my card shut. So just be mindful of where you're putting your dimensionals and then where your dimensionals are when you glue it down to the card. I can see on the back my dimensionals are good. And there I have my finished Trifold Z card. So I do have a couple other samples to show you so that you can see that you can use this card for any kind of occasion. And I kind of went fun and playful with these cards. Here I have one featuring the Party Puffins stamp set. And I used some wild and crazy designer series paper. And for this one, instead of one central image, I used two. So I used my scalloped and solid circles and my little puffin. And then when I open my card, here's the second one. So you can see how they layer together. And then just fun with stamping on the inside. And then I did put together two Christmas cards because we have some very fun Christmas stamp sets coming out tomorrow in our new catalog. This is our penguin, it's not playful penguins, but our penguin stamp set, and this little penguin punch, which is adorable because you can build your little penguin. And I fussy cut his hat and scarf out. This designer series paper is absolutely adorable. I think it's one of my favorites. And then I did a lot of stamping on the inside of this one. You can see this little penguin taking a slide on the ice. So you can use stamps and punches, or you can really focus on your designer series paper. And here is another cute little penguin card. And for this one, I simply cut circles of the designer series paper out in the sizes I wanted. And that's how the card came together. So I hope you enjoyed learning how to make this trifold card. I'd love it if you'd hit that subscribe button and come back and check out my videos. I do 2 videos a week here on the YouTube channel and live on Facebook on Mondays and Fridays over at The Faithful Stamper. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you come back and visit me again. Happy crafting.